Do you think that on the procurement side, there are billions of dollars of efficiencies that could be realized?
So there are a couple of things I would say. I recognize that Doug Ford has said, as a person who comes from the business world, he has the know-how to do this, that, or the other thing. I currently serve, obviously, as Ontario's Minister of Economic Development and Growth. I have a ton of respect for business people, for entrepreneurs, for people who make the decision to put at risk themselves, to risk their capital, and pour a ton of energy and resources at a personal level, again, into building businesses. People who have that entrepreneurial spirit really are at the backbone of our economy and, frankly, our province. And we rely on them, and I and the rest of our team in government respect them a great deal. But it's fundamentally different in government. And I will say, as someone who served as Minister of Transportation, using our alternate financing procurement model in many cases, working closely with Infrastructure Ontario, we have a very, very strong track record of delivering projects both on time and on budget and transferring a ton of risk, cost risk, out to the private sector. It's actually the beauty or the magic of our AFP model. But most importantly, again, in 2018, when you are less than 90 days away from Election Day in this province, and there is the potential that someone, in this case Doug Ford, is actually promising to recklessly treat at least 40,000 teachers, doctors, nurses, and put at risk the core public services that people in Vaughan and people right across Ontario depend upon, it's not good enough to say in a very vague way, oh, trust me, I can find it. You actually have a responsibility when you want to lead this province, when you want to be responsible for my daughter's future and for the future of tens of thousands of other young girls and boys across this province, when you want to hold their healthcare system and their education system and their quality of life in your hand as Premier, you have a core responsibility to level with the people of the province and explain exactly how you would get it accomplished. Because when you fail to do so, I would say that in the first place, when you fail to do so, you're not demonstrating true leadership qualities. And secondly, we've seen this movie before. We have seen Conservative leaders like Mike Harris and others come to the fore and in the past promise all gain, no pain, tax cuts, easy to find spending cuts, and everything will be fine. And what happened in this province? We saw our healthcare system eviscerated. We saw no investments in our energy system. We saw public education thrown into chaos. Here in Toronto, we saw the Eglinton subway project killed and ultimately filled. They literally filled in the holes that had been tunneled to prepare for that subway. They took a major public asset in Highway 407, which generates huge returns on investment. They took that public asset and they sold it. And they sold it because fundamentally they had to make their numbers work and the rest of their fiscal plan wasn't adding up. And those are just two examples of the kind of decisions they've made in the past when they've said to the people of this province, just trust us. And I'm fond of saying, we know how ugly that movie was the first time. We in this province understand that the sequel is always worse than the original.
Oh, that's, yeah, I guess in most cases. The movie, yeah, okay.